When a rich man chooses a housekeeper over wealth, the shocking truth will haunt you forever. The sprawling mansion stood like a behemoth against the vibrant sunset, its towering shadows clawing at the ground like desperate hands reaching for help. Inside, the air was thick with secrets, whispers swirling through gilded halls, each room echoing with tales of power, betrayal, and unthinkable choices. This was not just any home. It was a legendary fortress housing an untold fortune, yet burdened by an eerie stillness. As if the walls themselves held their breath, the master of the mansion, Benjamin Hart, was a titan of industry. He was always in the spotlight, always surrounded by gold watches that glimmered, cars that whispered speed, and parties that dazzled the elite. But it was his latest decision that sent shockwaves through the community. When he rejected a cadre of elite housekeepers, each one richer and more accomplished than the last, for a humble woman named Clara, it raised eyebrows and sparked whispers. Clara wasn't just poor. She wore her struggles like a badge, a worn-out sweater and tired eyes that told stories of resilience. What could possess a man of Benjamin's stature to choose her over women dripping in jewels? It wasn't long before the neighborhood buzzed with mounting intrigue. Why Clara? Every dinner party turned into a setting for speculation. Was there a hidden agenda? Or was there something about Clara that was far more compelling than the superficial gleam of wealth? Friends and foes alike couldn't help but be drawn in. The tension in the air was electric, saturated with curiosity and uncertainty, thick enough to taste. And then, the night came when tension escalated and everything changed. The sonorous chime of the grandfather clock echoed ominously through the mansion, punctuating the silence that blanketed the house. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, sending Clara bolting down the hall with her heart hammering. She pushed through the heavy doors, only to find shattered glass and a figure cloaked in darkness, lurking just beyond the kitchen light. Clara's breath caught in her throat, fear squeezing her chest tight. Who was this, and what did they want? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's hands trembled as she clutched her apron, unwilling to break the silence. Benjamin appeared at the doorway, eyes wide, glancing back and forth between Clara and the shadowy figure. What is going on here? He demanded, his voice low but fierce, vibrating with urgency. The tension reached a peak, slicing through the air like a knife, revealing layers of unanswered questions and dark intentions. What had they uncovered? And why did it feel as though the ground beneath their feet was shifting? As the shadows stepped into the light, Clara's heart raced. Something told her that the answer would change everything. Who did they truly serve in this house of luxury? The light flickered, shadows danced, and Clara held her breath, waiting for a revelation that could shatter the fragile world they all inhabited. Clara's pulse thundered in her ears as the figure moved closer, stepping into the glow of the kitchen light. It was a man, tall and thin, but his features remained obscured by the shadows clinging to his face. The dim light revealed a flicker of something in his hands, a knife, glinting ominously like a promise of danger. "Stay back," Benjamin shouted, taking a step forward, protectiveness surging through him. His bravado stirred a whirlwind of emotions in Clara. Fear, confusion, and an undeniable urge to run settled heavily in her throat. She clutched the edge of the countertop, steadying herself. What had she gotten into? The intruder smirked, a slow, unsettling grin that stretched over his pale face. "You think you could keep it from me?" he hissed. His voice dripped with malice, sharp as the blade he wielded. "You think you can choose a poor little housekeeper over the empire we built? Over everything we've worked for?" Each word struck Clara like a cold slap. She exchanged glances with Benjamin, who had fortified his stance, fists clenched at his sides. "I don't know who you are, or what you want, but you need to leave," Benjamin commanded, keeping his gaze locked on the man. The tension suffocated the air. "Leave?" The intruder laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that reverberated through the kitchen. You really don't get it, do you? It's not about me leaving, it's about her. He pointed the knife menacingly towards Clara. Choosing her will unravel everything. Benjamin, you don't understand the cost. Clara's stomach churned. What cost? As if sensing her rising panic, Benjamin stepped even closer, shielding Clara from the threat. If you think you can intimidate us, you're sorely mistaken. You've been blinded by your own hubris. The intruder exclaimed, pacing slightly, the knife moving dangerously with him. You think this is a joke? You don't know what's at stake. Clara, she holds more than you could ever imagine. And now, it's time for her to pay. The blood drained from Clara's face. Pay? What was this sick game? Did she, a mere housekeeper, somehow wield a power she had not the slightest awareness of? Desperation clawed at her heart as she glanced to Benjamin, who seemed to sense her turmoil. Stay back, he bellowed again, but the intruder's eyes gleamed with something more than anger. They burned with the fervor of knowing, of betrayal, and more alarmingly, of revelation. Time's running out, Benjamin. You can't keep your secrets forever, he spat before disappearing back into the shadows from where he had materialized. An icy chill crept into the room as Clara stood frozen, the weight of uncertainty tightening around her like chains. Clara, Benjamin's voice suddenly broke the trance. She shook her head to clear the confusion, blinking furiously. What did he mean? What does he know? With a deep breath, Clara opened her mouth, the words ready to spill out, but nothing came. Secrets? Cost. The air thickened with the reality of what lay beneath their lives, an undercurrent of darkness she had never dared to imagine. As Clara turned her gaze back towards the kitchen, something caught the corner of her eye, an envelope, wedged beneath the edge of the refrigerator. Curiosity sparked against the backdrop of her fear. In that moment, she knew it couldn't just be a coincidence. There was something hidden in the shadows of this mansion, and the hourglass had begun to tip. What awaited them on the other side of that envelope? The next piece of the puzzle was slipping through her fingers, and she felt an urgency rising within her. Clara reached for it, heart pounding. What was she about to uncover, and would it point her towards answer or ruin? Clara's fingertips brushed the cool surface of the envelope, and with a swift motion, she pulled it free from its hiding place. Her heart raced, matching the chaotic rhythm of her thoughts. The paper felt thin, worn like it held secrets older than the mansion itself. Clara, what's that? Benjamin's voice dripped with urgency, his eyes darting between her and the dark corners of the kitchen where shadows danced menacingly. She flipped the envelope over, hesitating for just a moment. The dread was palpable, wrapping around her chest like a constrictor. I don't know, she whispered, but she could feel the size of the truth lurking beneath the surface, threatening to rip the fragile piece they had held onto. With a deep breath, Clara tore the envelope open. The crackling sound echoed in the silence, amplifying the tension that crackled in the air. Inside, there was a single sheet of paper, not a carefully crafted letter, but more like a confession waiting to be read. The scrawl was uneven, shaky as if written in haste or fear. Read it, Benjamin demanded, glancing anxiously around as though the intruder might return at any moment. Clara unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the jagged lines. As she read aloud, her voice trembled. To whom it may concern, I cannot go on living with the weight of this secret. Clara is more than she seems, a pawn and a potential catalyst to everything that I've built. She must never know, or the house of cards will collapse. Confusion swirled in her mind. What does this mean? She stammered, trying to grasp the meaning behind the words. Who wrote this? What secret? Benjamin squeezed her shoulder, grounding her. We need to figure it out, he urged, a resolve stealing his features. This isn't just about you and me anymore. That man, he knows something. Something dangerous. But Clara was already lost in her thoughts. What if I am involved in something I don't understand? What if there's more to this life, more than just cleaning and cooking? Her heart pounded. Is it my past? Did I do something that would? Benjamin's grip tightened. There's nothing you need to worry about right now. We need to get out of here, figure out our next move. Before she could respond, a harsh noise shattered the stillness, the sound of heavy footsteps echoing in the hallway outside, their rhythm heavy and deliberate. Clara's breath hitched in her throat. Someone's coming. She gasped, her body frozen in instinctual fear. Grab the envelope, Benjamin whispered urgently, darting toward the door. Clara clutched the paper tightly, tucking it under her arm. She followed him into the adjacent room, adrenaline racing through her veins as she felt the weight of impending danger. They ducked behind a large, velvet drape just as the door swung open, the shadow of an imposing figure crossing the threshold. "I know you're here," shouted the intruder's voice, tainted with fury. "You can't hide forever, Benjamin." Clara's heart thundered. Was this it? Was the game finally coming to a head? "Get ready," Benjamin whispered harshly, his body tensed like a coiled spring. "We have to move quickly." Each second stretched, and Clara's mind was ablaze with questions. What lay behind the truth of that envelope? What darkness had they stumbled into? As Benjamin prepared to confront the figure, Clara felt the fragile line of their safety fraying. Will we survive this? She thought desperately, clutching the envelope. Or will this secret tear us apart? With everything hanging in the balance, the stakes had never been higher. Who would be the one standing when the dust settled, and would the truths uncovered drive them apart or draw them closer? The moment hung heavy in the air, a painful silence pregnant with possibility, as they prepared to face whatever awaited them. The answer was rushing toward them, and they could only brace for impact. What would they sacrifice to protect one another? And in the midst of chaos, one last terrifying thought crossed Clara's mind. What if the truth wasn't just about her, but about Benjamin too? The figure in the doorway shifted, its shadow stretching like a dark hand reaching for them. Clara felt her stomach drop. The weight of the envelope seemed to grow heavier, as if it now held the entire weight of their fate. "You thought you could just disappear?" The voice sneered, dripping with contempt. "You and your little games?" Benjamin didn't flinch, but his eyes darted toward Clara. She could sense the tension in his body, the way his fists clenched at his sides. "We're not playing games," he said, his voice low and steady. "We just want to leave." The intruder stepped further into the room, a large silhouette against the dim light. Clara caught a glimpse of the man's face, twisted with anger, eyes glimmering with something else, knowledge, maybe? She shivered. "You think you can just walk away from what has been set in motion? It doesn't work like that." "Who are you?" Clara whispered, the words barely able to form through her trembling lips. His laugh echoed in the vast silence, sarcastic and chilling. "You really don't know, do you? I was hoping you'd make it easier. But since you're here," he lunged forward, and in that split second, Benjamin shifted, blocking Clara from view. "Get out," he shouted, urgency snapping in his voice. "You don't have to do this." The figure paused, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Oh, but I do. This is just the beginning, Benjamin. You can't run forever. The truth will find its way to the surface, even if I have to drag it out." The air around Clara grew thicker, so heavy it was suffocating. She could feel panic clawing at her insides. What truth? What part of her life was about to unravel? "Clara," Benjamin said, breathless now. "We need to," but the words hung, too frail to fill the space between them as the intruder took another step closer. "I wouldn't be so quick to leave," the intruder warned, stepping boldly into the room. "You can't escape your past. It's coming for you, and it's only a matter of time before it catches up." Clara could see Benjamin's resolve waver. The shadow flickered in the dim light, and she felt an icy chill creep up her spine. Could it be true? Whatever darkness lay in her past was not an echo, but a living threat looming closer. A soft gasp caught in her throat. "No," Benjamin shouted, eyes fierce with defiance. "I won't let you use her like this." The intruder laughed, an unsettling sound that made Clara's skin crawl, and just like that, something shifted within her. "Maybe Clara isn't the only pawn here, Benjamin," he said, holding her anxious gaze. "Who knows what other secrets you're hiding?" Clara felt as if the ground was slipping beneath her feet. Pieces of a complicated puzzle were beginning to fall into place, but she was no closer to understanding what that meant for her relationship with Benjamin or for her own safety. "Listen to me," she said, finding her voice through the haze of fear. "If you want to threaten us, you're going to have to." Before she could finish, there was a sharp bang at the front door, causing all three of them to turn as the wood splintered, a shadowy figure breaking through. "Get down," Benjamin yelled as he pushed Clara to the ground. Crouched low, Clara felt her pulse quicken, conflict raging inside her. Who were these people? What game were they all playing? With every heartbeat, she knew they were spiraling into something darker than she'd ever imagined. And then she noticed Benjamin's eyes flickering with uncertainty, unraveled threads of trust tethering them together. Just as the door swung open, revealing an unanticipated figure that could change everything, Clara's stomach tightened in dread. Who had just walked in? And could they be the ally or the enemy they both suddenly needed? The door crashed open, splintering against the wall. Clara's heart raced as she tried to process the figure that stepped over the threshold. The newcomer was tall, clad in a long coat that swept the floor, face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. The room held its breath, caught in the moment between conflict and revelation. Benjamin's body tensed even more beside her, every muscle honed for movement, ready to fight or flee. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, voice strained and aggressive. Without a word, the stranger's eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the room, then settled on Benjamin. The tension was palpable, electric, as if the walls themselves anticipated a clash. "Benjamin," the new arrival said, voice smooth as silk and cool as ice. "I didn't expect to find you here." He stepped closer, revealing more of his face, thin lips curled in a bemused grin. Clara shivered. Something about him felt unsettling, like the calm before a storm. "Stay back," Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the tension unexpectedly. She could feel the heat of her fear mingling with a strange mix of anger and desperation. "You both need to explain what is going on. Now." The man chuckled softly. "Ah, the brave little lady speaks," he replied, pausing dramatically. "But can you truly comprehend the chaos you've walked into?" "What chaos?" Benjamin snapped, his patience wearing thin. "You think you can just waltz in here and toy with us?" The man tilted his head, studying them. "You misunderstand, Benjamin. I am not here to toy with you. I'm here to offer clarity." He paused again, drawing out the silence like a thick fog. "Servants of fate, you both are. Leading roles, surrounded by a cast of shadows you don't even begin to comprehend." Clara's heart sank, dread pooling in her stomach. She had assumed they were after only her life, her brutal past. Now, it seemed that Benjamin was entangled as well. "What have you done to him?" she whispered, fear draping her like a shroud. "Nothing," the man replied, his voice almost playful now. "But the truth has a way of presenting itself, especially when it's kept in the dark for too long." Benjamin glanced at her, eyes flickering with uncertainty. "Clara, you don't have to listen to him. Whatever he says is true." The intruder cut him off, amusement piercing through his words. "Secrets lie as they will lie. Sometimes they diverge. Sometimes they dance." He took a step forward, forcing Benjamin to shift protectively in front of Clara. "Why are you here?" Benjamin growled, lips pressed thin, resolve hardening his features. "To ensure that the threads connecting your lives do not sever. We're all a part of the same web, you and Clara." He paused, as if relishing the confusion swirling around them. "And I have come to trim the excess." The shadows in the room seemed to deepen, reaching out like fingers intent on weaving their fates together in a dark tapestry. Clara felt panic rise, the weight of her past becoming an anchor, threatening to pull her under. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Every choice you make, every action you take, resonates echoes." He leaned in slightly, voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "Tonight will tip the scales. Fight or submit, the consequence will unfold." Before Clara could respond, there was a sudden crash from behind the intruder, a noise so jarring that everyone in the room jumped. A loud, frantic knock echoed from the back of the house, making the hairs on Clara's arms stand on end. "More visitors, perhaps?" The man grinned, taking a step back. "No," Benjamin shouted, eyes wide with alarm. "It's not safe." In that instant, Clara realized. Doors were opening, but not just the front door. Truths were coming to light, and the only question was whether they were prepared to confront it. The pounding continued, quickening. As dread filled her, Clara knew that whoever or whatever was outside could shatter their fragile moment of control. What lay beyond the door, and could they still escape the tangled shadows of their lives before it was too late? The knock echoed again, sharper now, like a metronome counting down to disaster. Clara's breath hitched, the room stifling her panic. She glanced at Benjamin, whose face was a storm of emotions: worry, anger, protectiveness. "Don't answer it," he urged, his voice low and urgent. But the man in the coat simply smiled, as if the tension was a game he was eager to prolong. Why not invite them in? Perhaps they bring news, or something else entirely. His eyes glimmered with a dark promise, sending chills cascading down Clara's spine. Another knock boomed, making Clara jump. Enough, she yelled, pushing past Benjamin. Whoever it is, they deserve to know what's going on. Clara. Benjamin's hand gripped her arm, but she shook it off. Determination flared in her. She stepped toward the door, resolving that confronting the unknown was better than hiding in fear. With every step, dread pooled in her stomach. She hesitated, placing a trembling hand on the door handle, heart hammering. What if it's worse than him? She whispered, mostly to herself. Desperation clawed at her chest, urging her to step back, to find safety in the shadows where she felt vulnerable but protected. Benjamin's eyes were panicked, but the man stood inexplicably calm, his smirk growing wider. Can you sense the thrill, Clara? This moment contains everything: truths, lies, futures. All you have to do, he said, voice sweet like syrup, is turn the handle. The knocks came again. This time, a voice broke through the chaos. Open up. We know you're in there. The voice of strangers struck a chord of fear deep within Clara. Who was out there, demanding entry? She glanced back at the man, whose amusement had morphed into something darker, hunger straining to escape the corners of his lips. Do it, he taunted, urging her forward with an easy confidence. Let them inside. They might be the final piece you need to understand your fate. And then another voice joined in, muffled but persistent. Open the door. We have to talk. Terror gripped her. She turned the knob and pulled the door ajar. The hinges groaned ominously as the door swung wide open. Night air flooded in, swirling the sense of rain-soaked earth and trepidation. Before her stood two figures, faces masked by shadows. Clara's breath caught as she struggled to make them out, feeling exposed, vulnerable. Clara, one of them called, and recognition hit her like a punch. It was Charlie, her childhood friend, and beside him, Clara blinked at the familiar face of Elena, her neighbor. Both wore ragged expressions of fear, drenched in urgency. Are you okay? Charlie asked, worry etched across his features. We need to talk about what happened. It's worse than we thought. The man behind Clara chuckled softly. Ah, but isn't this a delightful reunion? The past returns. Yet, you must choose wisely. A choice must be made, Clara. Benjamin's growl pierced through the moment. Get away from her. Choices carry weight, the intruder mused, almost dreamily. Clara felt the pull of darkness tightening around her, as if every word he spoke was a thread wrapping her tighter in a web she could hardly see. I don't know who you are or what you want, Clara replied, voice hitching, but these people are my friends. They deserve to know the truth. Truth? The man echoed, gaze flitting between Clara and her friends. The truth can be a bitter poison. Or perhaps the antidote you've been seeking behind her. Benjamin stepped forward, fists clenched. Clara, we need to shut this down. No, Clara interrupted, firmly. You don't get to dictate this anymore. As she took a step outside, courage shifting within her, a crack of thunder rumbled in the distance. And with it, the doorframe vibrated with a sudden, violent surge. Things are unraveling. The man purred, eyes glistening with dark promises. And you just might find that some truths are better left unspoken. The ground felt unsteady beneath her feet as Clara stood, surrounded by both allies and threats. The night just began to deepen, but Clara could feel something else: a shift, a leak of dark secrets swirling between them. Whatever truth lay ahead was about to surface, and she was determined to face it. But first, all Clara could think was who else might show up? What had they really awakened by tearing open that door? In the silence that followed, they all sensed it: the stillness, the thrum of impending revelation. And she realized they were not just facing the unknown. They were standing on the precipice of their fates, one misstep away from disaster. What other truths were hidden in the shadows closing around them? Charlie took a cautious step forward, his brow furrowed with concern, and whispered urgently, Clara, listen to me. It's about the factory. There are things happening that stop. The man in the coat interrupted, his voice suddenly sharp. I do not permit unwanted distractions. A chill coursed through Clara. She felt the man's gaze bore into her like ice, freezing her resolve. But she couldn't back down now, not in front of her friends. Charlie, what do you mean? What has happened at the factory? Charlie exchanged a look with Elena, then nodded at her to speak. We saw something, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Something that shouldn't be happening. People they're going missing. Workers. And there's talk of something dark beneath the factory. What? Missing? The word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Clara felt her heartbeat quickening. You have to tell me everything. Elena stepped towards the door, urgency infused in her voice. We tried to get help. Local authorities don't believe us. It's like they're scared to dig deeper. But we know what we saw. Clara, we need you to help us figure this out. Clara's stomach twisted. She couldn't help but glance back at the man. His smirk deepened, amusement dancing in his eyes. Perhaps they're simply afraid of the truth, darling Clara. You're about to uncover it, whether you want to or not. What do you know? Benjamin interjected, his voice rising, tension crackling in the air. Clara could feel the atmosphere thicken, like the calm before a storm. Everything is connected, the man replied smoothly. The choices you make tonight could change everything. Or destroy it all. Charlie stepped closer, his conviction rising. You've got to stand with us, Clara. We can't do this alone. The rain began to fall, drenching the ground and amplifying the tension that hung like a noose above them. Every drop seemed to pulse, matching Clara's racing heart. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the distant horizon, a mere snap of life beneath the oppressive clouds. Clara turned back to her friends, the weight of the moment crashing down. What do you need me to do? She asked, swallowing her fears. This was bigger than her, bigger than all of them. Benjamin's grip on her shoulder tightened, a silent plea. Clara, think about it. What if this drags you deeper into danger? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to let fear control your life? Clara shot back, fierce determination igniting her spirit. Whatever is going on, I can't sit back and ignore it. The rain intensified, a vicious backdrop to their heated exchanges. The man leaned forward, excitement sparking into his eyes. Such fire. This is the very essence of choice. But be wary, Clara. Darkness often follows those who dare to shine too bright. Suddenly, Clara felt a sickening shift beneath her. The ground rumbled as if the earth itself was awakening. Shadows danced unruly around her feet, and for a split second, she felt the raw power of the moment, a choice that could unravel or bind. Before she could register what was happening, the ground splintered. A crack appeared, zigzagging toward them, revealing an ominous, inky maw below. Panic surged through the group. Run! Benjamin yelled, pulling Clara back as the first tendrils of darkness began to creep out of the fissure. The man watched with a sly smile, as if savoring the chaos. Somewhere, the voices of her friends faded into the distance. Clara clawed her way back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But even as she fled, she felt the magnetic pull of the truths waiting in the depths. Clara, we need to regroup. Charlie yelled, but it was too late. The shadows surged, a living mass that threatened to swallow them whole. Hold on, Clara shouted back, but the darkness was insatiable. Something was waiting in that void, awaiting its moment to strike. Clara stumbled. Breathless, she couldn't shake off the feeling that the stories were just beginning, and whatever emerged from that crack in the earth would forever change their fates. And then, amidst the chaos, a chilling realization dawned upon her who had really opened the door to this nightmare. The darkness twisted and writhed, stretching toward Clara like hungry fingers seeking flesh. She felt the petrifying grip of fear tighten around her throat, constricting her breath. The voices of her friends faded into a haunting echo, replaced by the eerie sounds from the chasm below. Desperation clawed at her mind, and instinct kicked in. Keep moving, she shouted to herself, propelling her legs forward even as panic threatened to topple her. But the ground beneath her wasn't just cracking, it was alive. The shadows pulsed, a heartbeat resonating from the void. Clara's heart raced in response, pounding like a war drum. In those fleeting moments of chaos, she dared another glance behind her. Charlie was struggling to drag Elena away from the pull of the darkness, his face a mask of determination mixed with terror. Meanwhile, Benjamin had fallen behind, wrestling with the tendrils that seemed hell-bent on binding him. Clara fought against the urge to turn back and help, knowing that if she did, they might all succumb to the shadows. Then, she remembered the man in the coat. Was he the puppeteer orchestrating their nightmare? His laughter echoed in her mind, mocking her bravery. Ignoring the rising terror, Clara pushed through the thickening air, sprinting toward where her friend struggled. "Clara!" Benjamin's shout cut through the fog of chaos. "Go. Get to safety." "No. I'm not leaving anyone." It was a line she had to draw. They had come too far together. The bond of friendship outweighed her fear 100 times over. The shadows recoiled for a brief moment, as if they were taking stock of their prey. But they were drawing in new strength. Clara could feel their cold breath, whispering promises of despair to entice her into submission. "Look, the light." Charlie pointed, urgency fueling his voice. A dim glimmer pulsed from behind their fading shelter, flickering weakly against the black tide. It was a remnant of the factory's lights, the very source of the chaos surrounding them. Forcing her panicked thoughts to focus, Clara knew they had to make it to that flicker. "We can do this. Just a little further." She could feel the strength rekindling within her, bolstered by the determination of her friends. With a fierce yell, she charged towards the light. The shadows lashed out, stinging her legs as she ran, but the pain fueled her resolve. Clara could feel the air growing thin around her, a final gasp before the storm, the end of everything they once knew. Pulsing shadows and cracking earth surrounded them, a nightmare stretching further, and she instinctively reached for Charlie and Benjamin's hands, pulling them along. She felt them falter but pressed on. "We're almost there." Suddenly, a thunderclap sliced through the murmurs of despair, and the air crackled with electricity. The ground shuddered again, more ferociously this time. Clara stumbled just as a deep rumble emanated from the fissure. A wave of darkness surged, a final desperate push to draw them into oblivion. Clara, the ghosts of her friends' voices faded as everything blurred, a whirlpool of shadows encroaching. Then, just as she thought it was all over, Clara felt a surge of warmth against her palm, a candle-like glow igniting behind her. In the throes of the turmoil, they were met with a blinding light, erupting from above the fissure. "No, you will not take them," she screamed into the encroaching void, as if the sheer force of her voice could chase the darkness away. The shadows recoiled, retreating for the first time, as the light enveloped them. Clara's heart swelled with hope, just as another seismic roar erupted from below. It shifted the ground, causing her to lose her grip on her friends. "Charlie, Elena, Benjamin," she howled, watching helplessly as their forms wavered against the brilliance. The light pulsed again, brighter and beckoning, and Clara could feel herself being drawn toward it, caught between her friends still fighting the shadows and the beacon of hope above them. But then, from the darkness, she caught sight of the man in the coat, watching with a sinister smile, as if everything was going according to his twisted game. The truth loomed larger than the shadows, teasing her with its mystery. "Clara!" A voice erupted from the encroaching brilliance. But which of her friends was calling? She took a deep breath and prepared to face whatever revelation awaited her. The lights surged again, and she knew one thing for certain. She was about to discover something about herself, the truth that might shatter everything as she knew it. But was she ready to confront it? The very thought made her heart race anew. The world around Clara exploded into light, blinding and electric, leaving her senses reeling. As the brilliance enveloped her, the tendrils of darkness hesitated, slithering back like startled serpents. But Clara's joy was short-lived. She felt an unnatural tug, dragging at her soul, as if the light were both a sanctuary and a snare. "Clara!" The voice beckoned again, clearer this time. It pierced through the haze, resonating deep within her, pulling her back. But was it a lifeline or a call into something worse? She fought against the glowing pull, focusing on the shadows flickering at the edges of her vision. Benjamin's face flashed in her mind, twisted with desperation. Charlie's strength wavering. She couldn't leave them behind. No. The force of her own voice seemed to disrupt the delicate balance of light and shadow around her. "I want to abandon you." She turned, feeling the warmth recede, as if it, too, were testing her resolve. The shadows hesitated, shimmering like oil on water, rippling across the ground. Clara surged forward, desperate to find her friends, knowing that if they were separated, the darkness would feast on their fear, on their weakness. "Over here!" A strange shout from Charlie forced Clara into motion. She could see him and Elena fighting against a serpentine tendril that had wrapped itself around Elena's ankle. Clara pushed through the lingering light that threatened to pull her closer. With a forceful grip, she took hold of Elena's arm, wrenching her back just as the shadows tightened their hold. "Hold on," Clara yelled, but the weight of the darkness was like an anchor, dragging them towards the abyss. The fissure yawned wider, exposing a gaping maw that seemed to pulse with a hungry heartbeat. Clara felt her heart synchronize with it, thump, 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 each beat drawing her in. It was intoxicating, terrifying. From the darkness emerged the man in the coat, a specter of calm amid chaos. His eyes gleamed with wicked delight, as if he were savoring their struggle. "You think you can escape?" he taunted, his voice smooth and condescending. This game has just begun. Panic twisted within Clara, but determination flared hotter than ever. "You're wrong. We're stronger than you think." With the shadows swirling closer, Clara pulled Elena and Charlie, her grip like iron. "We need to fight. Together." She could feel their fear, their resolve compromising, but they nodded, the spark of hope flickering in their eyes. They turned, facing the inky tendrils sliding towards them, stretching with murderous intent. On the count of 3, Clara shouted, "1, 2, 3. Together, they pulled away from the darkness, leaning into the brilliant pull of light. Fueled by their combined will, they surged forward, shouting defiantly against the encroaching night. The light brightened, roaring in answer and forcing the shadows back, for the first time, surrendering to the power of unity. Still, the man in the coat only laughed, an eerie sound blending into the pandemonium. "You think this is victory? You are merely delaying the inevitable." Suddenly, the ground quaked again. Clara glanced at the fissure, her heart sinking. It was expanding, the darkness swirling with renewed fury, and she felt the frantic pull anew pulling at her ankles, threatening to drag her under. Elena yanked her attention back, her voice trembling as she shouted, "What is happening? We need to leave. Now." But a shadow lurched forward, cutting them off, blocking their path to escape. Clara steeled herself, drawing courage from the brightness enveloping them and her friends clinging to her. "Let us break through." With one final desperate charge, Clara led the way, muscles screaming, heart pounding. She could sense the darkness pushing back with force. It was now or never. Would they break free of this cursed night, or could it really all just be the beginning? They barreled forward into the void, but whether to the light or deeper into darkness, Clara could not yet tell. The truth awaited, and it lingered just beyond reach, dynamic, terrifying, and charged with profound consequence. But what would they find if they broke through? Would the truth set them free, or would it chain them to their nightmares forever? As the quartet hurled themselves into the ink-black maw, Clara felt an impossible force pulling at her, swallowing her fears and hopes. Flashes of memories danced through her mind, flashes of joy and pain. The laughter from simpler days mixed with the weight of secrets she was just starting to fathom. A slice of sunlight appeared in the chaos. "Clara!" Charlie shouted, pulling her back to the present. "We can't stop." In the distance, the figure of the man in the coat hovered, his amused expression unwavering. "You think strength and numbers will save you? You are all entwined in this deadly dance, one that you cannot escape." The shadows twisted, reaching closer. "No," Clara yelled defiantly, forcing her will against the darkness. "We are stronger together." The light surged, an electric shock that coursed through her veins. The shadows recoiled, but they wouldn't relent easily. Clara pushed past the fear clawing at her throat, shoving her friends forward. "We need to break through. Focus." With renewed determination, they linked arms tightly, their hearts pounding in unison. "On 3, Clara said, holding her breath. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward in a flash of bravery, hearts beating like war drums as they barreled toward the flickering light. The shadows thrashed around them, hostile and unyielding, but Clara pushed through the blinding pain of struggle. They dove into the glow and, as they crossed the threshold, the sharp noise of thundering chaos faded away, replaced by a sweet, soft quiet. Clara blinked, bewildered. She found herself standing in what felt like a sun-drenched grove, familiar yet strange. The air was sweet like summer, the colors vivid and bright. But there was no time to wonder. Behind them, the darkness coiled and faltered, wrestling with its departure, revealing their figures splintering into dust, great movements collapsing under the weight of unity. They turned, breathless, relief mingling with disbelief. Did we win? Elena asked, eyes wide and panicked. Then they heard it, the low cackle of the man in the coat echoing just beyond the grove's edge, a reminder that this fight was hardly over. You cannot escape your fate, Clara, he taunted, still smiling. This isn't the end. The truth will always find a way to be revealed. Clara's resolve hardened. She was determined to uncover every hidden layer, every dark truth. The truth? Clara stepped forward. You don't get to decide my fate. We're not pawns. We're not bound by your games. With that declaration, the shadows began to dissipate, retreating like frightened animals, losing their power over her. Keep standing together. Benjamin's voice rang clear, climbing over the fear that still lingered in the edges. We've come too far to give up now. Clara felt the bond of her friends behind her, a lifeline affirming her solidarity. We're not afraid of you, and we won't let you control our story. The words felt powerful, igniting courage through her bones. Their shared hope flickered like a candle in the dark. With a final glance, they turned and faced the grove, where the horizon shimmered with the golds of dawn, a brand new beginning. Together, Clara breathed. We'll find out the truth. We'll face whatever comes next. And as they stepped forward, leaving shadows behind, they knew they had unlocked a new chapter of their lives. The power they reclaimed was profound. No more hiding or cowering. They had a mission and the strength of unity to see them through. Clara smiled for the first time in what felt like ages. The truth wasn't something to be feared. It was a beacon to guide them. What lay ahead would be for them to shape. Nothing could take that away. The golden dawn wrapped around them, and they vanished amongst the glimmers of light, stepping boldly into a world that awaited their fierce and unflinching spirit. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming up. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. And don't just sit there, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your support means everything.